hear about the whole casino rejection in Times Square?
I just like the meltdown the dude had.
Whole Caesar's Palace and yada yada yada.
I don't know enough about it to know whether it's a good move or not, so I don't want to speak on it. But I'll just say the meltdown. No, I really don't know. But I ain't scared. I just don't know. But the dude that had the meltdown when all the people voted. Was it 4-2? It got voted down or whatever.
4-2, no.
Yeah. I thought that was just watching the white man meltdown was entertaining to me, but I don't know the details enough to know. I mean,
makes me so entitled.
Yeah.
And when they don't get their way, it's just comical.
Well, what details you need to know besides Hove was partnering with fucking Caesar's Palace and somebody else to put a casino in Times Square?
I want to know why.
I don't know if it was good for the. I don't know if it was good for the city or not.
Was that good for the people or not?
That's the part I don't know.
That's what
History has a strange way of repeating itself. And in New York City, the names that keep coming up are always the same. Nas and Jay-Z. For decades, people have compared Nas and Jay-Z in music, in culture, in power. And now, in the world of billion-dollar business, that rivalry has come back. This time it wasn't about who dropped the better album or who had the hottest verse. This time it was about who could own the future of New York through casinos. And once again, the results left Jay-Z embarrassed while Nas walked away as the winner. When it was first announced that Jay-Z was teaming up with Caesars Palace and SL Green for a casino in Times Square, the headlines exploded. People said, "Here comes Jay-Z, turning New York into his empire." The very idea of Jay-Z owning a casino in Times Square sounded like the ultimate flex. Times Square is one of the busiest locations in the world, a place with lights, billboards, Broadway, and millions of tourists every year. If Jay-Z could control that, it would mean power, money, and legacy. His partners at Caesar's Palace and pushed the idea hard, telling everyone this was about jobs, about culture, about giving back to the city. And for a while, many believed it. The media hyped it up, fans hyped it up. Jay-Z looked like he was about to make another billion-dollar move. But behind the hype, there were whispers. People remembered what happened with the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. Back then, Jay-Z was the face of that project too. He promised opportunity. He promised culture. But many in Brooklyn say what they got instead was gentrification. They say families were pushed out, rent went up, and the community suffered. That shadow followed Jay-Z everywhere. And when he stood beside Caesar's Palace and SL Green to sell the Times Square dream, not everyone was convinced. Some people said Jay-Z was just chasing another bag while pretending it was for the people. The New York State Board finally met to make the decision. 6 members voted. And in the end, the result was crystal clear. 4 votes against, 2 votes for. The casino plan backed by Jay-Z, Caesar's Palace, and SL Green was officially rejected. A 4-2 loss. It wasn't close. It wasn't dramatic. It was just a flat-out rejection. And that was the moment everything shifted. Instead of celebrating, Jay-Z was suddenly trending online for all the wrong reasons. Because what happened right after the rejection turned the whole thing into a circus. SL Green's CEO Marc Holliday, one of Jay-Z's biggest partners in the deal, completely lost control. In front of cameras, in front of reporters, Marc Holliday screamed at the board. He said they were cowards. He said they denied the city its future. He shouted that they would have to live with that shame forever. His voice shook, his face went red, and every single second of his meltdown was recorded. Within hours, the clip went viral. Millions of people watched Jay-Z's partner break down in front of the world. Instead of seeing Jay-Z as a calm, powerful businessman, the world saw Jay-Z attached to chaos and desperation. Memes started flying. Jokes started trending. And once again the narrative was out of his control. The debate after the vote only made things worse for Jay-Z. Supporters tried to argue that the casino would have created 3,000 to 5,000 jobs. They said Jay-Z and Caesar's Palace would have brought in money, and that SL Green would have turned Times Square into a place of opportunity. But critics fired back harder. They said Times Square was already too crowded, that the traffic and congestion were unbearable, and that adding a casino would only make it worse. They said Broadway, one of the most important parts of New York's identity, would lose tourism. They said crime would increase. And they said the last thing New York needed was another flashy project that hurt locals while benefiting billionaires. And over again, people brought up the Barclays Center. They said, look at Brooklyn. Look at what happened the last time Jay-Z promised culture. Those voices were louder than any speech, louder than any press release, and in the end, those voices won. No matter how many times Jay-Z repeated that this casino was for New Yorkers, no matter how many times Jay-Z said this was for culture, no matter how often Jay-Z stood next to Caesar's Palace and SL Green to sell the dream, the people didn't buy it, the board didn't buy it, and the 4-2 to vote made it official. Jay-Z had failed. Times Square had rejected him. New York had rejected him. And while Jay-Z and his partners were trying to explain the loss, another man was preparing to celebrate a victory that would change the future of Queens forever. That man was Nasir Jones. That man was Nas, while Jay-Z was left embarrassed in Manhattan. Nas was celebrating in Queens, while Jay-Z and SL Green were trending online for a meltdown. Nas and Resorts World Queens were trending for a billion-dollar victory, while Jay-Z got rejected by a 4-2 vote. Nas got approved by a unanimous vote. Every single member of the board said yes to Nas. Every single vote went in his favor. The difference between Jay-Z and Nas could not be clearer. Nas partnered with Resorts World Queens on a $5.5 billion expansion project that immediately caught attention. Unlike Jay-Z, who tried to force a brand new casino into the chaos of Times Square, Nas focused on expanding what already existed. Resorts World Queens was already part of the community, already trusted, and already respected. So when Nas stood with Resorts World Queens, the people listened. And when the board voted, the people cheered. The plan with Nas and Resorts World Queens was about more than gambling. It was about hope. It was about opportunity. It was about jobs. Thousands of jobs were promised once the expansion was complete. Millions of dollars were promised to construction crews during the building phase. For Queens residents, this was not just another flashy project. This was a chance to grow, to work, to dream. And with Nas leading the way, it felt real. Unlike Jay-Z, who carried the weight of gentrification in Brooklyn, Nas carried the pride of Queens on his back. The symbolism was perfect. Queens has always lived by the phrase, "Queens get the money." And now, with Nas leading Resorts World Queens, the phrase became more than just words. Fans shouted it online, "Queens get the money. Queens get the money. Queens get the money." It became a chant. It became a celebration. And every time people repeated it, they weren't just talking about Queens. They were talking about Nas. They were talking about how once again Nas had beaten Jay-Z. Not with music, not with lyrics, but with business. Once upon a time, Nas released Ether and destroyed Jay-Z in the rap game. Now, people were saying Nas had ethered Jay-Z again. This time in the business world, the comparisons between the two men were impossible to ignore. Jay-Z tried to force a casino into Times Square, and the board rejected him. Nas expanded Resorts World Queens, and the board celebrated him. Jay-Z ended up with memes of Marc Holliday's angry meltdown. Nas ended up with headlines calling him a visionary. Jay-Z was tied to gentrification in Brooklyn. Nas was tied to opportunity in Queens. Jay-Z walked away with nothing. Nas walked away with a $5.5 billion project that would forever change Queens. And that's why the internet couldn't stop talking. For days, people repeated the same story. Nas wins. Jay-Z loses. Queens wins. Brooklyn loses. Resorts World Queens wins. Caesar's Palace and SL Green lose. The rivalry between Nas and Jay-Z had moved from music into business. And once again the results were the same. Nas on top. Jay-Z at the bottom. But the real question is this. What happens next? If Nas can build Queens with Resorts World Queens, and if Jay-Z keeps failing in Manhattan with Caesar's Palace and SL Green, then maybe this isn't just about casinos. Maybe this is about legacy. Maybe this is about which man will be remembered as the true king of New York. Because once again the world is watching Nas and Jay-Z. And once again, only one of them is walking away as the winner. Only one of them is walking away as the winner.